Hi, I'm going to share with you the three biggest mistakes to avoid when doing a rent to own. And then at the very end, I'm actually going to give you a little bonus. I'm going to share with you the biggest tip to protect your investment in your rent to own property. So let's take you through what that really looks like. The first mistake that you want to avoid when you're doing a rent to own is to make sure that the price point for the home that you're getting into is going to be something that you're actually going to be able to qualify for when it comes time to purchase the property. And you have to be really careful about this, especially in today's market. You can get misled. And here's what I mean. Let's say you're to pick up a rent to own today that costs you $2,000 a month to be able to rent. And then in a few years, you'll buy it using traditional financing. Well, that property that you have been renting for $2,000 a month, when financed, it comes out to $2,500. And you find that you don't actually qualify for that prepayment amount. Then it didn't matter that you are on a rent to own because you'll never be able to buy it. So if you're renting for $2,000 today, but your final payment when you go to actually get the loan is at $2,500, then you've got this gap, and you're going to want to make sure that you can qualify at that future rate of what your repayments will be. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Right now, today's rates are so incredibly low. They've just gone up a little bit, and they're probably going to go up a little bit more, yet they're still at an all-time low. So if you use today's mortgage rates and say, oh gosh, yeah, if I get this house today, it would cost me $2,000 a month, or maybe it's just a little bit less, $1,950 or a little more, $2,100, something in that range. And you're thinking that you could get financing for that amount, but you can't use today's interest rates to figure out what it'll cost you in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So you want to make sure that you look at that and get a good idea of what rates might be like in the future, and that your future payment is going to be something that you can qualify for. Interest rates are going up, so you're going to want to be able to stay ahead of that. The second tip is you want to make sure that you're actually going to qualify for your home in the time frame of your purchase option contract. And here's what that means. You're going to rent for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years, and you're going to have the ability to be able to purchase that property at any time up until the end of that contract option. So you want to make sure that whatever is holding you back from being able to buy it today will be solved at the end of that time period. So let's say you get a 2-year rent to own contract. You want to make sure in 2 years you're actually going to be ready to buy. This means if you just started a new business and you're not qualified to buy a home yet today because you don't have 2 years of income history, don't get into a 1-year or even a 2-year rent to own agreement. Make sure that you give yourself a better buffer than that, 2.5, maybe 3 or even 4 years in order to qualify. The other thing is if you're rebuilding your credit, don't underestimate what it can take to rebuild that credit. Do what you can to make sure that the time frame of your agreement actually matches what you can do. The third mistake that so many people make when doing a rent to own is they start penny pinching on their rent to own agreement with the landlord, and they're complaining about overpaying for rent on the property. For example, rental for the home might normally be about $1,500, but the seller that's doing the rent to own requires you to pay $1,600 or maybe even $1,700. The sellers are doing the rent to own to make a better than average profit and fund your home purchase for a few years in return for that profit. You'll miss out on a ton of perfect homes for yourself if you go into that mindset that you shouldn't be paying any more than what the market rent is. Remember, the purpose of a rent to own is to get you into home ownership today so that you can actually start renting and owning today, even though you're not actually buying it for 2, 3, 4, even 5 years. That means you should expect to pay a premium on your home. So instead of the $1,500, it might be 16 or 17. Now, a secret that you can do is make sure that some portion of that rent premium you're paying, you can get back as a credit toward the purchase. So if you purchase the property, maybe 1 or 150 of that monthly payment premium might actually go towards the purchase. And the same thing on the purchase price of the home. If there's a property that you're able to get into and it is actually below market asking today, don't expect that you're going to get into that below market price as your future purchase price, because that's how whoever might be renting the home to you for the future purchase is going to profit. It is how they can make this deal work for you and them at the same time. For example, an investor buys a home that's valued at 300,000 that's being sold for a quick sale at 275. Don't expect that you're going to get the property for 275. You should expect that you'll get it at 305, 310, or some other future value, but you're locking that in today. And that's the beauty of this, is that you're actually locking in that home. And that's the purpose of doing a rent to own. So don't try and pinch every penny in the deal, or you may find yourself a rent to own. You may never find yourself a rent to own property. Now, I promised I was going to give you the biggest tip to protect your investment in the home. So here's what you want to do. You've avoided the three mistakes when you actually go and you set up your rent to own contract. And you want to make sure that the purchase price at the end of the term, whenever that is, you want to make sure that that purchase price appraises at the market value when you go to buy it at that time. So here's what I mean. If you agree to buy a home in 3 years from now for 300,000, you should make sure in the contract that it says that if it appraises or it doesn't appraise for 300,000, that you should be able to renegotiate the terms of your contract. This is going to protect you from getting into a property and getting an overinflated purchase price on a home. And then when you go to buy it, you're like, wait a minute, I'm upside down in this home. The goal is never to be upside down in your property. You don't want to be in for a home that's only worth 280,000, but your contract says 300. That's not the goal. The goal is to always make sure that you're on a path to home ownership, but don't get caught by ending up at the end of the term with an overpriced house. And now it doesn't appraise and you've lost everything you've spent time on for the last 2, 3, 4, even 5 years. So that's the biggest tip that you can do to protect your investment in your rental property. In the upcoming videos, I'm also going to talk about how it can actually be better to rent to own a property than buy it outright. And this is what most experts don't tell you. So make sure you watch that video as well. And if you like the content that you're learning here, make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and then you hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on any future videos that I post to this channel. Once again, I am Jordan Quinn, a real estate investment specialist, and thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. And as always, I wish you the gift of a most wonderful life.